Okay, this is the Rantzerker number 78 after show. All right, guys, take it away. Whatever you want to talk about.
Okay, all right. Well, could you pull up the red pill thing that I sent to you in a
Uh,
thing that things?
yeah, hold on a second. Though you guys will have to share it on
I don't
your
know if you
own.
have it. Yeah, it should be
Um,
just
I
spitting out the red pill.
yeah.
I can start reading it so we can start discussing it while you try to get it up and show it to people. Spitting out the red pill. Former misogynists reveal how they were radicalized online. Subscribers of Reddit's most notoriously sexist subreddit explain what happens when you change your mind. Okay, so I like this now. I mean, now the red pill is the most misogynist rather than men's rights. Um,
Um, Bain actually noted, Bain 666 noted that one thing about this article that makes it stand apart from all the others is that it does not conflate "Are the Red Pill" with MRAs.
oh, excellent. So
The
there's a little
first
bit of
time ever.
the journalist integrity going on here. Thank you,
This
Amelia
is
Tate.
about the Reddit subforum, right?
Yeah, the red pill.
Yeah.
Sorry, I read Amelia Tate as Amelia Taint. Oh, I'm gonna laugh about that a bit. It's just my juvenile mind. It has nothing to do with her. Okay, let's see. Where is
Taint
this?
a cunt and it taint an anus.
Yes.
Amelia Taint.
Okay,
Yes.
unpronounceable names describe swallowing the red pill as a feeling greater than winning the lottery. What? Aged 17 and a self-described late bloomer virgin, he was growing apprehensive about going to college when he stumbled across an online community that seemed to hold all the answers. I believed in it so much, the now 24-year-old tells me via Skype. Is it like 7 years old? From his home in Portugal. It was such a fantastic thing to me. Back then, I used to say I was so happy with finding about the red pill and pickup artists that I would rather be with them than win the lottery. I didn't know why I believed so deeply because it really makes no sense. Though Joanno experienced 2 happy years with the fellow red pillars, his opinions have now drastically changed. During the course of our half-hour conversation, he uses one word exactly 20 times. Cult. Okay, Amelia, does he use it in reference to the red pill, though?
Yeah, I think that's what she's getting at. Is he describes it as a cult. I read a little bit of this article, and it one thing that he, in the next paragraph or two, accuses "Are the Red Pill" of is if you disagree even a tiny little bit, you get you get deleted, or your comments get deleted, or you get banned. And I haven't actually seen that happen. I can't really, like, because I don't spend a lot of time there. I do participate there every once in a while. And I do often disagree with people. I'm not well liked by some of the very, very big names on that subreddit, like Rollo Tomasi. He does not like me whatsoever. I don't mind him at all. But I've never had anybody um, delete any of my comments, or and I've
Well,
disagreed with people on there before.
can can I just spout out a thought that I had while listening to that? I mean, inevitably, the feminist deification for women is going to result in some men having sort of going the other way in a strong way. And I don't know if the red pill is like that because I don't really read it that much.
Um,
But
it's a little hardcore. It's pretty hardcore. It's a lot more like the spearhead than used to be way back when than it is like a voice for men.
well, I didn't actually mind the spearhead that much.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed my time there. They were like,
I
I
think
cut my teeth there. So
I think I regard like I didn't cut my teeth there. I cut it on sock.men because I'm that fucking old, at least in this community. And then Stand Your Ground. I've known like Tom Golden for 14 years now. That's incredible. But this like I didn't find the spearhead particularly onerous. Although I think the guy who did it eventually was disowned us or something, or was like he was like, oh, those misogynists over there are the real true misogynist deplorables.
the guy who did what?
The spearhead. Am I
Oh,
wrong about that?
oh no, the guy who used to own the spearhead. He, unbeknownst to his readers, met a feminist woman, dated her for a year, got engaged, and then married her. And then 3-4 months after he married her, somebody did an article on the men's rights movement and who's going to be the new de facto leader once Paul Elam is gone. She was tossing up. It was either going to be Welmer Price from the Spearhead, or it was going to be John the Other. She thought Welmer Price would be a much more sane choice because the Spearhead was, so much more circumspect and so much milder and all of this. And it wasn't as anti-feminist, right? Because I think she probably went back and read the articles from the previous year when he's been heavily tempered by his feminist wife, right? And then she mentioned that he had married a feminist woman, and that was the first his readers learned of the fact that he had a year and a half before married a feminist woman. And then not long after that, he took down the entire website.
Okay, well, that was a sort of an interesting episode in drama.
Yeah, has anybody seen Bill Burr's latest freaking special? His feminist wife has really changed him too.
Oh,
I
excellent.
saw his special. I didn't really like it because
He lost his edge. Like,
he lost his edge. Seriously, he was going off on a rant about really killing stuff, and I didn't really like it. His previous special was much better.
Yeah, no,
Really lost his edge.
Oh God, he's trying to be a little more politically correct, and he's trying to be a little more, liberal, and he's been listening to his fucking wife. Why would you do that? Duct tape on, she's a feminist. She's got duct tape on her mouth unless she's fucking.
Yeah.
Was it really that bad? I mean, his wife is crazy.
Seriously.
She's one of those Black Lives Matter feminists, which is mind-boggling that he chose her of all people. But
Oh, I know, and it's. I hope she's good in bed, fucking Bill.
I hope so too, because seriously, he seriously lost his edge on the last special. I saw it on Netflix about 2 weeks ago, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Well, he invites her on his podcast every now and then, right?
I don't listen to his podcast. It's too much football or whatever. It's football is sports, right?
Yeah, he likes sports.
He's talking about sports too much on that podcast.
But when I'm listening to him and his wife interact, right? It's so reminiscent of listening to Gigi Engel and Mike Fishbein in their Dirty Sexy Monogamy podcast that I took 3 fucking videos to rip apart.
Oh, that one. About
and I'm just like, at one point I'm like, and Mike, why are you with her? And why do you sound so nervous discussing these things with her?
Oh, God.
Right? And that's what Bill Burr and his wife interacting on his podcasts.
So he's turning into Steve Shives.
Okay.
Oh,
So that's what
Okay,
happened. Welmer Price is what I'm saying, but so the Spearhead probably got very, very much softer and gentler, a kinder, gentler anti-feminist blog.
Okay, can I just point something out? This is a good reason to support Honey Badger Radio, because none of us are going to end up with a feminist wife.
no. Well.
We're probably going to stay pretty steady in our general misogyny.
Yeah, if my Mike and I take on a wife, because that would actually be kind of hot. We'll make sure that she doesn't really speak much English. She cooks and she cleans, and she's prepared to sleep in between us in the bed.
Okay, the red pill is a philosophy, and Reddit the red pill is its home. The nearly 200,000 subscriber strong subreddit, wow, that really blossomed, describes itself as a place for the discussion of sexual strategy in a culturally increasingly lacking a positive identity for men. In itself, that perhaps doesn't sound too bad. It's completely fucking accurate. I mean, 1,000 years ago, we got rid of the word for men. Regardless if it's weremen or just where, we got rid of it. In practice, to swallow the red pill is to accept the uncomfortable truth about reality. The phrase comes from its 1999 hit film The Matrix, in which the protagonist...
don't need to read this paragraph. It just rehashes that whole thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. All right. In the Red Pills instance, the dark truths that the subreddit subscribers have swallowed are these: feminism is toxic. Holy fuck, is it ever? You know, the more that I'm actually looking into all this shit, the more that I'm realizing that I'm actually starting to think that feminism really is it absolutely not grassroots. It's some sort of social control. And
Well,
it literally.
No, it's the female sexual cartel. However they choose to, whatever tactics they choose to use, given the different environments in which they exist, right? It is the female sexual / reproductive cartel.
I think that actually this might actually be more sinister than that. I think it might be some sort of a mechanism, just because of the sheer amount of funding it got from government and corporations. I think it might be a mechanism of social control as well. Feminism is toxic. Sexism is fake. Men have it hard.
Absolutely, that's false.
Okay,
no one in the Red Pill subreddit would say that there's no such thing as sexism.
Men have it harder than women. And everything the media teaches us about relationships is a lie. In reality, the argument goes, women don't want soft-centered men, chocolates. Okay, how can she even argue that when even feminists, who are supposedly being all accepting of men's vulnerabilities, have mugs that say, "I drink your tears. I drink men's tears."
How can she freaking say this when feminists all over fucking Twitter a while ago were saying, "Why am I having freaking sex dreams about Trump?"
They want to be dominated, controlled, and manipulated. The most extreme red pillars even believe that women want to be raped. Well, you know what? I think red pillars should qualify that. I think mostly it's feminist women who want this shit. And part of the reason why they're feminist is they just can't accept the fact.
Well,
rejection.
I think honestly, I think that red pillars would argue with that. They would say we're not saying women want to be manipulated. We're saying that in the society that exists right now, the only way to keep a woman happy is to manipulate her. Right?
Rejection is not,
because there's no room for the average man to be of higher social status than his female partner anymore, right? Because they have the same legal status, they have the same economic status, they have the same everything, right? And so the only avenue for a man to actually be of a status where his woman looks up to him, which is what women want. They don't want to be dominated or be submissive necessarily, but they want to be with a man that they can look up to, who is superior to them in some way, right? Once you artificially eliminate all the ways in which men might be superior, right, the only thing that's left is to essentially trick a woman into feeling like you're in a superior position.
Rejection is not rejection. Reason extract from the subreddit's most popular post. When a woman insults you, belittles you, mocks you, or says something provocative to get a reaction, these are all examples of active tests.
Well, they can be. Okay, so I don't think any red pillar is saying every time a woman rejects you, it's because she wants you to push her against the wall and stick your tongue down her throat. They're just saying that sometimes that's what she's asking for.
Okay, but they're not even referring to a sexual rejection. In fact, you could classify this stuff as whenever a woman abuses you, these are all examples of active tests.
Well, and wanting you to put your foot down.
By following the subreddit's advice, its subscribers are promised a life of successful sexual encounters. If they ignore the red pill, they will undoubtedly be rejected, cheated upon, and dumped. They have theories that are not easy to prove or disprove. They are based on beliefs that all women cheat, like they like cheating, and all women are not loyal. Explains Hoea. So essentially, this part is identical to feminism, except for men. Then there's a whole conspiracy thing where, I mean, okay, I'm going to apply the test. Does this actually rise above the general attitude towards men in society? No. This is solidly how society views men, that they all cheat and they're all not loyal. In fact, you would find this on like does this rise past the
no, this isn't a cult belief in our culture. This is just mainstream belief that men are not loyal, cheat, men are manipulative, men are only after shallow desires when it comes to women. So, you know, the guys are just after pussy and want to get their dick wet, and women are just after a man's money, right? Those kinds of things. It's essentially She's calling it a conspiracy theory, and it's not a fucking conspiracy theory. All of this, the entire fucking paradigm of the red pill is that these are biologically based instinctive reproductive strategies. They are not a conspiracy.
Okay, can I just I want to continue this. I'm going to apply the Lifetime channel. So, does this rise past the gender inversed misandry of the Lifetime channel, which is indeed an entire channel that probably has like it must have $1 billion operating budget, like an entire TV channel devoted to the female version of the red pill. She's whining about this. I wonder what the operating budget of the red pill is. Nothing.
Like $0, yeah.
Zero. So we have, on the one hand, an entire TV channel devoted to the gender inverse version of the red pill. An entire channel. And as of yet, this particular authoress has not pointed to anything on the red pill that rises above the baseline misandry of the Lifetime channel. Okay, there's a whole conspiracy thing where women are against you and they are the imaginative. You mean patriarchy theory?
Yep. Yep.
They're the imagined energy. Okay, when I said that there's going to be eventually feminism is going to create its dark shadow self, I wonder if it even can, because I doubt there's going to be a very large or vocal group of men who want to kill all women. Okay, so as well as there's a whole conspiracy that society is against men, that society is anti-male, so to speak, and that liberals are fucking up society, and that feminism is fucking up society. Okay, let me gender inverse this. They have theories that are not easy to prove or disprove. They are based on beliefs that all men cheat. They like cheating, and all men are not loyal. There's this whole conspiracy thing where men are against you. They are this imagined enemy, as well as there's a whole conspiracy that society is against women, that society is anti-woman, so to speak, that the Republicans are fucking up society, and that patriarchy is fucking up society.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's this person again? All right, Amelia. There are two narratives here, one of which commands billions of dollars worth of advertising and billions of dollars worth of gross product.
They can demand a fucking sit down with the President of the United States so that they can influence the bills that he wants to introduce.
Okay.
And then there's a subreddit with 200,000 subscribers.
Yeah. The blindness of it's so funny because she's calling these ideas indicative of a cult mentality, and yet zero self-awareness here.
Were you expecting any?
Oh, right. I believed everything. And you know what's really funny is that you sort of sympathize with this guy because he is under the barrel of this gigantic bullshit, it has a huge amount of funding and it commands a huge amount of society's attention. It's an absolute gender inversed idea of what he believes. And he's actually in its sights. He's staring down the barrel of it. You can sort of understand why he'd be upset.
Well, honestly, essentially, what I can't get past is them calling this, or this author calling the red pill like conspiracy theorists, right? When in reality, they're just essentially saying this is just human men and human women acting on their instincts and behaving the way they're going to behave, right? And there's no matriarchal conspiracy. Like, very few of them talk about things like how the CIA funded Gloria Steinem and funded this and funded that, and like none of them really spend a whole lot of time discussing that kind of thing, other than that, well, it's of course they're going to fund a narrative that can be twisted to their purposes, that's very easy for the public to buy because the public's already susceptible to it, because on an instinctive level it appeals to them, right? So essentially, they're not blaming it on some kind of conspiracy. They're just blaming it on people being people.
Yeah. Okay, I believed everything. And if you didn't believe everything, if you go on the Red Pill Reddit and you disagree with someone, they either delete your comments or they try to make fun of you and shame you. You can't criticize anything because people will quickly try to diminish you. So I really believed every little thing. Well, first of all, like you said, Karen, this is not true. I, in fact, saw somebody go on the Red Pill and tell them that they were basically all a bunch of teenage girls because their attitude wasn't masculine. They just wanted to smash and grab while the world burned. And he wasn't deleted, and he wasn't even really argued with. Okay, beliefs such as all women are evil and all women cheat. I'm just going to change women to men. Beliefs such as all men are evil and all men cheat are what are known as conspiracy stereotypes. Like traditionally conspiracy theories, they often rely on cherry-picked evidence. The Red Pill in particular exploits evolutionary psychology to argue that men are wired to want women with a strong frame. Well, I guess that doesn't work very well. Much of the subreddit's misandry is justified by one of their favorite acronyms. All men are like that. Oh my god, we just got the kill all men hashtag.
Yeah. No, it's essentially women do want men who are masculine. They do. They want, like in general, they want men who are strong. They want men who are able to protect and provide. That is what most women want. That is, there's a very strong and justifiable biological reason for that, right?
Well, haven't they been selecting them for that since there were people? They've been selecting them for this, and
since
then
before they were people.
Yeah, since before they were people, and so over time, we are the way we are now because of the choices that women all through human history have made in terms of selecting their mates. So, yeah, they want men that are masculine.
Okay, I began to see male victimhood throughout society, says over Reddit's messaging service. It fed the confirmation biases that society was built around men catering to women in return for sex.
Well,
what do you?
Isn't that what men?
Sort of a biological imperative.
Okay. Literally, we have a culture in which a man spends $4,000 or $7,000 or $10,000 on a piece of jewelry so that he can get down on bended knee, present it to a woman, and beg her to be, will you please be my slave, and may I please be your owner? This is according to feminists, this is how it goes down, right? Marriage is slavery for women. Men are dominant and women are subordinate, and women have to obey, and that's
what the hell
they do. And yet instead of just going and buying a woman, right, the guy has to go through all of this shit.
Can I just point something out? Don't feminists routinely call for like pussy boycotts in order to make men more feminist?
Oh yeah, no, there was one who was she just wrote an article recently, it was posted on our men's rights, where it was like a feminist saying that women who date Trump supporters, feminists who date Trump supporters are not helping. It's like have sex with rewards men with the proper attitude
who cater to us
with sex, and don't reward those filthy, disgusting, horrible Trump supporting men with sex, right? And it's just like,
okay, so basically we have tons and tons of feminists saying, reward those men who cater to us with sex, but somehow recognizing that this is the case. I mean, I imagine on that article, if somebody pointed out, oh, hey, so our society was built around men catering to women in return for sex. That feminist author who just said, do not reward Trump supporters with sex, would say, oh my god, that is a conspiracy theory.
Well, she didn't say it in those exact words.
Yeah, well, essentially that's what it means. Don't give affection and attention to men who don't cater to you in the way that you want. This is ridiculous. This is okay. Mike,
by the way, this is keeping sex away from men to get them to do something is something that is done in those horrible patriarchal societies in the Middle East.
Oh, you think? But except for that, except for that men are allowed to insist on sex within marriage. And so essentially, that, you know, women aren't allowed to say no, even though women actually do say no, and they do manage to use sex or withholding of sex to get what they want out of their husbands. Somehow, even though those men are allowed to just beat them and rape them, 99% of the time, women are able to withhold sex in order to get what they want from their husbands, because somehow men, I don't know, are horrible people who could rape and beat their wives. But
I swear to God, that shit is just a way of making men take responsibility for being abused. Well, we gave you all these abilities to stop her from doing that. Well, if you don't use them, then you're just responsible for the result. Sorry, fuck off.
yeah, I actually think you're probably right. But then again, women have the exact same right to sex within marriage under Islam as men do.
It's like that saying, curb your woman or control your woman. Like, some woman will be, you know, fucking around like a spider monkey, and the person, instead of going to her and popping her in the head for being a fucking spider monkey, the guy will go to the woman's man and be like, curb your woman, and then pop him in the head.
Yeah, my boyfriend actually, he was with his cousin, his female cousin.
Yeah, you said this story before, and she started it.
He almost got stabbed because
of her stupidity. And it's a way of making a man. It's like, I don't want to give this woman the results of her actions. I don't want to subjugate her to the consequences of her own actions. So I'm going to identify a man that I'm going to peg as responsible for her actions and then beat the shit out of him. It's a way of, it's an explanation of why you divert violence onto men, because the violence follows the responsibility. And I wonder if a lot of that shit in Sharia law is exactly the same. Anyway.
Well, the whole basis of Sharia is to require men to take on responsibilities for their wives. And the whole idea of the wife having to be obedient, right, to her husband, well, if there was not that rule, then there would be no way to hold him responsible for her behavior.
Yeah, it might just be a hand wave, like the law is ass, according to I think some character in Oliver Twist. The law makes men responsible for people they can't actually control, and it's only because law does not want to punish women for their actions, so they just assign responsibility to a man under the assumption that she acts under his guidance. Without giving, I mean, at least in terms of guardianship laws, men had no ability to actually compel any kind of action from women.
Well, but at least in terms of Sharia and the way things used to be under coverture, you were giving a certain amount of authority, at least in the social sense. You gave some authority, nominal authority in the legal sense, but authority within the social context. That if a woman was insubordinate, if she was not submissive, if she was not obedient, if she was like running wild and being completely uncontrollable and making all kinds of problems, right, that there would be some kind of punishment visited, usually upon the man, but at the same time, the wife's social status would go down as well, right? So, you know, they wouldn't directly punish her, but the punishment on him would actually negatively impact her social status and would bring about all kinds of social shame and stuff for her too. So,
yeah, okay. Mike Wood, a lecturer at the University of Winchester and an expert on the psychology behind conspiracy theories, explains that people who believe in conspiracy theories, such as AWOLT, tend to have what's known as a Manchean worldview. But, you know, people who believe in patriarchy and the fact that men as group want to subjugate women, they don't have a Manchean. They feel that world is divided into absolute good and absolute evil, and the people behind the conspiracies are, of course, the absolute evil ones.
LOL! The projection!
I know. What gets me
in your warm projection.
What gets me is that the red pill isn't saying that women do this because they're evil. They just say women do this kind of stuff because they're women, you know, and because they're kind of programmed to do it. And I mean, it is essentially, the red pill is essentially imposing the responsibility for women's behavior onto men in terms of, well, she did that. Right? She fucked you over in that way because you did not present yourself in a masculine frame. You did not do what it takes to control, to exert influence over her behavior and play to these instincts. You played to those instincts, and then she freaking fucked you over, right? So it is really placing the red pill is really placing the responsibility on men, the way feminism does, the way traditionalism does, all of those things, right? In terms of, it is the man who is expected to arrange the relationship in such a way that the woman will be happy doing what you want her to do, which is not cheat and not be a bitch and, you know, not overspend and put out when you want it and all of those things.
Okay. The projection is amazing. All right. So psychologists have a concept, entativity. I've never heard of that, which describes the extent to which a group of people are perceived as a single entity. Patriarchy. I mean, seriously, this is like like reading something with zero it's almost comical.
Yeah.
It is comical. I'm laughing. If
Yeah.
you think that a group is entative, it's like a swarm of bees or ants, Wood explains. They're not just a collection of individuals, they're actually that a single organism moves with a singular purpose. I think that's probably likely for groups like the Red Pill that look at women and see just a flock of harpies. Oh, he sounds so scientific-y there. Subscribers' experience in the real world can reinforce their misogynist views. Trevor, a 34-year-old former Red Pill, explains how the subreddit led him towards more extreme views of women. When I was 30, I broke up with a woman who's just not a very good person, he tells me over Skype. I broke up with her on the phone. 30 minutes later, she shows up to my apartment completely hysterical. I remember I had a large metal tin bowl with potatoes on the counter, which was going out to cook for dinner or something. She grabs it, chucks the potatoes all through the apartment. Her shirt sort of catches on the countertop, and she proceeds to tear the rest of it off like Hulk Hogan. When Trevor decided to call the police, it was he that ended up arrested. I went from being in my home peaceably to being in jail cell, all because I'm a man and she's a woman. Now, that was a very immoral human being who I was dealing with. Certainly not all women are like that. But that's another brainwashing technique of the Red Pill, and say that all women are the same. Interesting how they completely gloss over this actual incredibly difficult form of disenfranchisement.
Yeah, I know.
Which is statistically accurate.
Yeah,
also,
and what
also the righteous conversion is a story that's so compelling.
Nobody on the Red Pill says that all women are like that. I mean, the closest you can come is Matt Forney back when he was blogging under the name Ferdinand Bartomeu, right? Who was essentially, if you don't put your foot down with women, they behave no better than chimps, right? Yeah, no, I think that most of the guys in Are the Red Pill know that there is a certain variation to women that, you know, you can get away with more being vulnerable a little bit more with some women than with others. But there's certain things about women like hypergamy and, like shit testing that are fairly universal, right? And a shit test might be, you know, she gets mad and creates a freaking conflict that is completely ridiculous and not, essentially non-existent just for the sake of shit testing, and he doesn't put his foot down, and she gets mad and sulks for a few days, and then another woman will respond to his attempts at capitulation and supplication with, you know, beatings, right? And hitting him over the head with her stilettos, right? There are variations too, but women do tend to react when they're shit testing and a man fails the shit test. They tend to react in ways that make them more angry rather than less.
Yeah, can I just point something out here? Certainly not all women are like that, but the laws are like that. The legal system is like that. So does it matter? I mean, we can separate a woman, and let's face it, women are under less pressure to be moral because their very gender identity isn't tied up in this idea that they need to serve others. You're not going to be a woman if you don't take a bullet for a man. You're not going to be any less of a woman.
Yeah,
if you don't,
and if you freaking hit your husband and then he gets arrested, that doesn't make you less of a woman either. If you allow that to happen.
no. So there's less pressure for women to be moral, because for men we tie that morality up with their very identity as a man. But the other thing is that's one thing, and it still doesn't mean that all women are going to do that, but all women are legally capable of doing it. So we can draw a distinction between women and legal women, like what the laws say women are capable of, and all women are capable of that.
Well, and they should not be held accountable for it at all.
And they shouldn't be held accountable for it. And that's a very, like, for men, I can see why that would be an incredibly scary position to be in, because not only do you have the original abuse, the system turns around and abuses you for the original abuse.
For some women, they don't even necessarily inflict the abuse themselves. The very first thing they do when they're mad at their partner is
use the system
and report him, and then she just gets her proxies to come in and abuse him on her behalf.
So it kind of tricks you, so you're agreeing about one thing, and the next thing you know, you're agreeing about all these other things. I would care more for Valerie, I think, Tate's opinion if I actually got a sense that she cared about the situation that Trevor found himself in, which I don't. All she seems to give a shit is that this situation led to Trevor having a more negative opinion about women. Seriously.
Yeah.
A situation where an abused person was further abused by the police and jailed for being abused, and your only concern is that Trevor was got a bit of a negative impression of women from that. That is,
I know.
These tricks aren't accidental, according to Hoe in Portugal, who now firmly believes that the red pill is akin to a cult. If you go to the red pill and you say something these guys really don't like, then they will just delete your comment. Well, we already covered that. They don't. They have this social influence mechanism where they preemptively invalidate all criticism by criticizing people preemptively? Well, how do you preemptively criticize someone back? Okay, all right, I'm going to step away from that one. It's typical of cults to do that. You feel more culty now than you. Other red pillars I spoke to also mentioned this threat of harassment. Hoe also believes the red pill preys on those who are easily manipulated, be they young, nerdy, insecure virgins, or simply going through a difficult time in life. Most of the ex-red pillars I spoke to were teenagers when they became involved in the subreddit, and many say they were exceptionally lonely at the time. Callum, a 29-year-old from Western Pennsylvania, has a mild case of Asperger's syndrome and speculates that a great many people... it's just... I'm going to go back to that statement. This woman read this story, and she still made her article about Trevor becoming, or these men becoming upset with women, or having a negative view of women. She did not make her article. She didn't say, you know what, the real story here is Trevor being arrested for having been abused. That's the real story. She didn't. She did not listen to Trevor saying this to her. And the only thing she gave a shit about is the end result to her as a woman. That's it. This is fucking, like, could you be any more an example of what they're saying, Amelia Tate? Jesus fucking Christ.
I have the feeling because, I'm guessing she talked with these guys for half an hour to an hour each. And I've talked to lots of people who have written articles, and they seem really pleasant over the phone, and they seem very sympathetic and all of these things, right? And then they write their articles, and the articles don't look anything like the conversation that we had. So,
okay, yeah, I know. Okay, so Callum, a 29-year-old from West Pennsylvania, has a mild case of Asperger's syndrome and speculates that a great many people on the red pill are likely on the spectrum. He became involved with the red pill at 19. Though he'd spent much of his time at school not caring about girls, he became insecure when he started college. I worried that I wasn't thin enough, I wasn't tall enough, I wasn't endowed enough. He tells me over Reddit, I started getting very bitter towards relationships in general. At no point was I actually ever angry or bitter towards women, but I was frustrated with the established social rules, and that men had put on a show, and the best they could do was that women got to pick and choose without trying much themselves. I wasn't even being picked. Ugh. You can have the best year of your life. RP took me from a 24-year-old virgin to fucking 12 girls with... Oh, I thought that meant 12-year-old girls. Sorry, my dyslexia got me. That's a bit much for me. Just so you know. When I turned to the Red Pill subreddit, I immediately felt like I figured it out. Like a cult, they gave you a few obvious truths. Men should be more confident, work towards physical fitness. Women aren't divine beings to be worshipped, but flawed people, etc. I definitely think this enabled me to slide into accepting the more toxic beliefs of the subreddit. What are the more toxic beliefs? At any time someone said something outright sexist or alarming too much for me, others would interject and say they were just being angry and we should let them vent.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
a common thing in Are the Red Pill. Newcomers often come in angry, and you give them a safe place to vent their anger. Then eventually they get down to work, and they realize being angry is
They
counter.
mellow out. Okay, over the last year, the Red Pill subreddit has become a home for other hateful beliefs. A year ago, the alt-right's most vocal figure, Milo Yiannopoulos, did an AMA, Ask Me Anything, on the sub. It's now confidently accepted that the alt-right recruited men from the Red Pill and attempted to radicalize them. How did voting Republican become radicalization? You guys are creating a very fucked up world. In fact, the alt-right has become so conflated with the Red Pill that this month, a brand new subreddit, the Red Pill Right, had to be made. My focus with this new sub, it didn't have to be made. I'm sure somebody just said, hey, I'll make a forum. You know how, like, does this individual woman know how fucking easy it is to create a Reddit forum?
I don't think she does.
My focus with this new sub is to keep from diluting the discussion of sexual strategy on our main sub. Wrote it's great. Oh, I see what you're saying. So they had to do it because there was so much Republican stuff being written about. Well, she should be happy then, because Trump is championing women, the trials and tribulations of women entrepreneurs, and they want to have more women in STEM. So obviously the Republicans basically agree with feminism, at least in that area. How is a place designed for discussions about sex and women became so radically political? It's the power of the ideology.
What? How did discussions of sex and women become so radically political?
Yeah, how are Republicans radical?
No. How did discussions of sex and women become radically political?
Okay, I see that. Tell me what you find astounding about it.
1960s, the personal is political.
Walls, yeah.
Calling women, rape is a political crime, right? It's a crime of the patriarchy. It is it is no more or less than a concerted campaign to keep women terrorized and subordinated.
That is the power of ideology, explains Jack, the British Red Pillar. It gives you a lens that brings out the most cynical explanation of social activities. For a while, it seemed as if blindfold was lifted and I saw manipulation everywhere. Jack became involved with the Red Pill when he was 23 and had been single for a long time. I was numb, lonely, and desperate, he says. It was a terrible time in my life. Do you actually care about the pain that these guys are in?
No, except for that it leads them to the Red Pill, and that must be
Amelia. You don't give a shit about the pain these guys are in. You don't care at all. Although Jack only spent 2 months in the subreddit, he quickly fell in with anti-feminist and libertarian rhetoric. Oh my god, radicalization. An uncomfortable misogynistic streak grew within me, he says. At one point I thought that Donald Trump was a good candidate for president. Oh, the horrors. Like many of the places we frequent online, the Red Pill has become an echo chamber. The psychologist I spoke to, Mike Wood, told me this can lead people to adopting more and more extreme views. If you're in some sort of group that defines itself by its opinions, then people will get more and more polarized over time. He says, individuals will try to conform to what the group mandates. This is true of not just the Red Pill, but its opponents. While radical feminists on Tumblr, for example, become more extreme in their views, so does the subreddit. In many ways, the extremes of each group justify one another's existence in their minds. I'm sorry, but academic feminism?
Yeah.
Just as radical as Tumblr. Political feminism, just as radical as Tumblr.
Organized feminism,
just as radical. People within the group.
Also, they keep talking. She keeps citing conversion stories. It's no different than the creationist citing. Oh, this person. I was an atheist before. Then I discovered God. It's basically the same thing here. Like I was a red pillar before, and I discovered God, women, or feminism.
Or whatever.
Mm.
Honestly, I do think that there was something to what Allison was saying. Maybe maybe it was somebody in the chat, in the little chat thing, that maybe a lot of these guys are just sort of susceptible to falling into sort of all or nothing belief systems, and so they find one that seems to fit their life at a given moment, and they fall into it, and they buy it hook, line, and sinker. And then, a few months later, they're like, oh, wow, like this is totally wrong. And then they reject it whole cloth, just as whole cloth as they accepted it. And then they're like, I got nothing of value. There was nothing of value that I got from the red pill, which I would have to say it has to be absolute bullshit. Not everything in the red pill is 100% wonderful, but almost everything that they say and that they advocate has a grain of truth to it and has the ability to help somebody form relationships with women, whether it's just hookups or whether it's a long-term relationship. There's something in there to be gained. Even if there might be a lot of stuff that you eventually reject as being, over the top or whatever, right? But this whole, I swallowed it hook, line, and sinker, and then I spit the entire thing out, right? And rejected it in its entirety. That is really problematic. I mean, even I, as an atheist, and I completely reject the idea of God in the sense that, like, okay, prove to me that he exists. Don't prove to me that he could exist. I already know that. Prove to me that he does. And if you can't, I'm not going to believe in him. There you go. Thank you very much. Even I can understand the value of religion. Even I can understand what purpose it serves in terms of being, sort of glue in the fabric of society, the kinds of positive things that it encourages, even religions that maybe we don't like. There are certain aspects of those religions that are socially beneficial, right? I don't reject the thing in its entirety, right? And I don't even reject the possibility that God could exist. He absolutely could. Just nobody's proven it to me.
Okay, individuals will try to echo. Individuals will try to conform to what the group mandates. This is true not just of the red pill, but its opponents. While radical feminists on Tumblr, for example, become more extreme in their views, so does the subreddit. In many ways, the extremes of each group justify each other's existence in their minds. You realize that everything that you ascribe to the red pill can easily be ascribed to entire TV channels, an entire media, like in the entirety of feminist academia. Like you reverse the words and you have basically patriarchy, theory, rape culture, and male privilege. Those are concepts with a great deal of currency in our society. It's not an extreme, it's mainstream. People within the group will try to get social approval from other members of the group. Wood continues. So they'll play to that standard if they're supposed to live up to. And then people will take it further because the reason if I'm more extreme about this, then I'll get more approval. So the norms of the group shift over time. Jack's story aligns with this. Trump represented everything that the red pill told me to value at the time a mainstream political candidate. Anti-PC, anti-feminist, and social Darwinist policy. He says, those aspects of Trump that he still found unpalatable or racist, he accepted as a price to pay for the other stuff. Okay, so when did this woman, the 20th of February, 2017. Funny that a lot of what they're saying sort of echoes what I've said about the Puritanism of online communities. Although with zero self-awareness. There exists another...
There was a little self-awareness. I mean, they did say that Tumblr feminists do the same thing.
Yeah, but they don't, they restrict it to Tumblr. And incidentally, why aren't they writing an article on how horrible Tumblr feminists are? And that they need to get. And the other thing is, this is really interesting. Each of these people say that they were in a very bad emotional place when they found the red pill, and apparently they left it when they were feeling better. But they don't seem to make the connection.
Yeah, I know that maybe doing some of the things that the red pill advised them to do help them improve their lives and feel better about themselves.
Nah. There exists another misogynist subreddit, which is in fact deeper and darker than the red pill. Reddit.com r incels is a place for involuntary celibates, people who are struggling to lose their virginity, to talk. In theory, once again, this is not terrible. Well, thank you for your permission. In practice, however, their nearly 10,000 subscribers strong group breeds bitterness towards women and a hatred of chads, men who are romantically successful. Elliot Rodger, the Santa Barbara student who killed 6 people in 2014, considered himself an incel, an involuntary celibate. Well, probably because he was. For Callum, the red pillar from Western Pennsylvania, this subreddit spoke more specifically to his own situation. The feelings of inferiority and utter hopelessness are indescribable, and the worst things I've ever felt in my life, he says. I think that outsiders looking in just deem these people very bitter and angry and don't understand the long process it takes to get there. So it takes a long and drawn-out battle with yourself that these people have lost. It's listening to the voices in your head telling you how shit you are, telling you that you'll never be wanted, never be normal. All of your friends and family are laughing at you behind your back, failing at the easy task of finding a girlfriend. You are a walking shame to your gender. Nothing you can do can overshadow such laughable inferiority. You are nothing. And then she has a lovely graphic. Lonely women. Only ugly guys ask me out. Unhappy face. And judging from social, what was it, OkCupid survey, 80% of men are classified as ugly. Stacey got 30 times more likes on her profile picture. She's so annoying. Where have all the good men gone?
80% of men on OkCupid were deemed below average. Not ugly, but below average.
Lonely men. I haven't spoken to another person for 2 weeks. Wow, isn't that interesting? And what's also interesting is feminists do recognize that men do not have as much of a social connection as women. But apparently when the incels recognize it, that makes them toxic. And they would even say that the bitterness of a group that's disenfranchised, for example, the very obvious and even recognized by feminists, social disenfranchisement from men from social contact, they would recognize any other disadvantaged group as having a right to their bitterness and their anger. But not incels. We have to look at these men solely in terms of how they affect Vivian, or whatever the hell's her name.
Amelia
Tate. It's easy to see how the inferiority complex of incels and the superiority complex of red pillars both in turn breed hatred and contempt. However, some subscribers to their subreddits manage to avoid being radicalized. It's not the subreddit doing it. From those I spoke to, it seems that this is more likely if they've avoid becoming radicalized. So the 2 men that she talked to, the guy who's unpronounceable from Portugal and the other guy, I'm terrible with Calum, they both said that they came in angry, lonely, and upset and bitter, and they left when they felt better. It sounds like the subreddit did its job. And in fact, maybe instead of looking at the wound and saying, hey, this wound is so pussy, look at all that pus, let's scrub it clean, and thus kill the person that you're scrubbing clean of pus, because the pus was there in the first place to heal. Maybe we should just, if you don't like it, don't look at it. But if your examples actually prove why it should exist, if they're going in sad, lonely, upset, bitter, they're going in an Elliot Rodger and they're leaving a more adjusted person, that is a good thing. However, some subscribers to the from those I spoke to, it seems that this is more likely if they have pre-existing political beliefs or circumstances that contradict the theories of the group. Tim, a 22-year-old isn't that sort of like all the red pill is really doing is talking about how to jump the hurdle of female selection. Isn't this sort of entification of that group when you say that it contradicts the theories of the group? Like you've just ascribed a set of beliefs and theories to an entire group of people.
Yeah, well, but it's different.
It's not the same when we do it, yeah. Tim, a 22-year-old from New Zealand, believes that our incels didn't lead him to become a misogynist. Oh, Jesus Christ. Because he was already interested in progressive and feminist politics. He found the sub when he was 16 after growing frustrated with the advice on R-Pill and other sites, Red Pill and other sites. As a self-described nerdy young man, Tim felt anxious about how relationships worked. I'm not very good at following my nose in these sorts of situations, he says. I can't dance, for instance, because I have no idea what to specifically do. So anything without a rule book is pretty much impossible for me. I've spent so long searching for my rule book until I realized that it doesn't exist. No one seems to have any clue what makes a relationship happen. It kind of drives you mad thinking like that. The only person in the world who doesn't get it. That's where places like our incels come in. Tim says that the fact he's always been friends with women might have meant he wasn't convinced by the group's misogyny. It's possible to accept that you'll be alone forever. So the fact that he had relationships, whether or not it was with women or not, what are women like just some sort of sacred bomb? If they're in a man's life, he's
like,
suddenly a better person?
He had friendships with women, and so our incel couldn't convince him to hate women because he had friendships with women. And you can't make me hate my friends, man. Whereas if he had friendships with men only, maybe they'd have turned him against women because he wouldn't have the glowing example of his friends who.
It's possible to accept that you'll be alone forever and accept that you're very unhappy about that without becoming hateful or misogynistic, but it seems like everyone else forgets that, he says. Okay, so for a pair bonding reproductive species, getting a mate is pretty much the height of privilege. When these guys see women gaining, or not just getting mates easily, but being competed over, you could imagine that leads to feelings of anger and isolation.
Yeah, I mean, even when you go into a bar, you'll see like maybe 10% of the men are the ones that all the women are interested in, and yeah, those men are going to be competed over by women, but about 50% of the women, right, are also being competed over by men, right? Like it's an average thing. It's an average experience for women.
It seems like this is going to take a while.
Yeah, no, we're going to be able to make it through the whole thing. I told you it was way too long for a
wait, no. This includes some other article.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we're actually pretty much close to the end. Okay.
All right.
Lewis, a 19-year-old from Albany, New York, joined our incels age 16 and does feel that it made him more bitter and misanthropic. You feel the world actively hates you, so you need to hate it back, he says. Nonetheless, he stopped frequenting the subreddit when, like the red pill, it began spreading extreme right-wing beliefs. The alt-right is how I broke from incels, as the racism sort of woke me up to the reality of it, explains Lewis, who is black. Each of the Redditors...
Well, you got to admit there is some racism, or what would be perceived as
I don't know.
In the
I
alt.
don't frequent these forums.
Well, the alt-right is quite a broad range of views, and some of them are sort of ethno-nationalist in.
And this is different than the left's war on black fatherhood.
Yeah, well, and it's also not different from the left's war on white maleness.
Okay,
so
each of the Redditors I spoke to has a different reason for leaving the red pill. Joa, and Jack were influenced by Mark Manson, the author of Models Attract Women Through Honesty. Much of what he talks about is mindset to take care of oneself and strive to improve. To care for oneself and strive to improve. Hate is energy spent finding and enjoying activities you love. Hate is energy better spent finding and enjoying activities you love.
Okay, so basically what these guys are saying is they left the red pill before they got past their anger stage.
Well, no. What they're saying is that this other guy is telling them, take care of yourself.
And don't hate, because hate is just an unnecessary expenditure of energy. Right. And the whole idea of the anger stage and letting these guys vent is that eventually they're expected to eventually get over it and get to the work of improving themselves.
Yeah. So essentially, one presumes the red pill did its job. They got through it. They move on. And that now they're in a position where they recognize that they need to care for themselves. And I'm surprised that she didn't jump all over that. Hoey says he left the red pill because he's attracting girls that were emotionally damaged and not mentally healthy. He also felt like this advice didn't really work. I was going out to bars to talk to women. I would have to talk with literally like 100 girls just to pick up one. So the whole thing is a numbers game, a probability thing. He says he now considers himself a feminine. Oh.
Okay, but the thing is that before he went to the red pill, he wouldn't have talked to any of those 100 women.
Yeah, he wouldn't.
That's the thing that the red pill and all of those kind of pickup artist communities do, is they essentially they convince men to divorce themselves from the outcome of any given approach, right? So I'm going to approach this woman. It's not scary, right? She's just a woman. She's not a divine being. I don't need to worship her. She's a flawed human being, right? I'm going to approach her. If I fail, right, it was a lesson learned. It's not the end of my fucking world. It's not going to crush my ego. I will learn from it, and the next time I will be more successful. That is what they do. That is the whole thing. And the biggest hurdle for these guys, often, these guys coming into it brand spanking new, is the idea of approaching women in those terms, rather than I'm gonna gather up all my courage and I'm gonna put my heart on the line, and and if she rejects me, it's just gonna crush me, right? It's an entire change of attitude that the mentors in these communities try and instill in these young men, is that you get rejected, it's not the end of the fucking world. You move on to the next girl, you try again, you try and learn from your mistakes, you try and learn to be more charming, learn to be, to not put your foot in your mouth, whatever, and learn what your strengths are, learn what your weaknesses are. You're not good at telling jokes, find something else, right? And try again and keep trying, and don't feel rejected when you get rejected, because you're going to get rejected 100 times, and it doesn't mean that you're not a good man. It just means that that's what women do, right? And eventually you'll be successful. And without the red pill telling them this is the strategy that you need to use, this is the approach that you need to take, right? And you need to stop thinking of women as, these make or break objects, that if you fail once, it's all over for you, right? Without that, that guy would never have thought to approach 100 women just to get laid once.
Yeah, exactly. So he needed to get over some of his own thinking. It's just a grind. And the problem is that it requires that thinking of it's just a grind requires letting go of the idea that women are all these like you're every time you go up to a woman and she rejects you, you're being rejected by like a divine being. Well, you're not. You're just being rejected by
that one woman's as good as the next, really, right?
Yeah, probably that's true, to be honest. It's just, like people are generally pretty average. There's nothing exceptional about them.
Well, no, I mean, it's and honestly, if you're just going for sex, if that's what or just going to hook up, or you're just interested in dating or whatever, right? Yeah, no, like you need to number one, you need to set your sights on something realistic, right? And that was Elliot Rodgers' biggest freaking problem, was that he thought that he wanted he thought that he deserved a woman who was, essentially a blonde supermodel, right? And that was something that he should be able to get. And looking at that guy, there's no way in hell that he's going to be able to get a woman like that. And yeah, you need to look at women as just regular people, and one's no better than the next, really. I mean, it's just, I'll try this one. Oh, okay. Don't want me? Okay, sure.
Yeah.
I'll try that one.
Well, but the other thing is that there's this sort of like a romantic ideal that denies some of the realities. Sometimes love is just about picking one and making it work. It's nothing really fucking great. It's not like...
I know.
It's just pick one.
Yeah.
Move on. Yeah. The way that our relationships form, it doesn't make them any less real, the emotions that you feel, but you don't have those emotions until you live your life with this person, or a certain amount of your life with the person. It's not... Sorry, go ahead.
That reminds me of a story that an acquaintance of mine said. Like she said she was a guy she found really, really ugly came to her and asked her out, and she dismissed him and said, "Nah, hey, you should go look. You should ask that girl over there." And she indicated a very ugly girl instead, and they ended up hooking up and go out together. The two ugly people for that acquaintance.
Well, is your acquaintance still alone?
Well,
I have no idea. I don't.
You
haven't talked to her in years.
Well, what gets me too is, I mean, like you have that one quintessential scene of what's his name in Topol in bed with his wife Golda in Fiddler on the Roof, right? And they're talking about the matchmaker and all of this, right? Because they want their daughters to be married off by a matchmaker to the matchmaker's choice, and they were married to by a matchmaker, and he asks her, over and over again, do you love me? And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I cook for you every day. I lie in bed beside you every night, right? For 25 years, we've been doing this, how on earth could you even ask me whether I love you? Of course I love you. Like, fucking get over yourself, right? It really is a matter of, I think, taking what you've got and choosing. Love is a choice we make, right? It's not something that just, maybe lust is something that spontaneously happens, but love is a choice we make, and it's something that you have to work at. It's something that you have to put effort into, and it's something that you, like Allison said, pick one and get to work.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Hoey says he left the red pill because he was attracting girls that were emotionally damaged, not mentally healthy. He also felt like its advice really didn't work. I was going out to bars to talk to women, and I wouldn't have to talk with literally like 100 girls just to pick up one, and the whole thing was a numbers game, a probability thing, he says. He now considers himself a feminist and has a fantastic girlfriend who has been with him for nearly 3 years. In another related story, Hoey was involved in a traffic accident and rushed to the emergency room, whereupon he was put back together by a bunch of expert surgeons. But when he left the hospital, all healed up and able to walk again, he said, you know what? Now that I can walk, I don't think I ever needed that hospital at all.
Oh, God.
That's extraordinary.
I'm fine now. What the fuck?
I'm fine now. Fuck, what did I need the hospital for?
The power of prayer saved me.
For Caleb, it took a series of psychedelic trips to begin getting out of both the red pill and the incels. The very idea of gender was alien to me when I was tripping hard enough. Oh, maybe the American government was right about its LSD experiments on people.
Is that actually in the article?
Yes, it is. I'm not fucking shitting you.
So he
says.
literally took LSD to be deprogrammed from.
Well, not LSD. Not the part about the American government being right about LSD wasn't in the article.
Yeah, no, but acid trips.
He took psychedelic. He probably dropped acid.
Oh,
That's how he got out of the red pill. When I asked him how he feels about women now, he says, I still hold on to the belief that women enjoy a major advantage in the dating world, even though they suffer disadvantages in other parts of life.
Oh my God. So he took something out of the red pill. It's absolutely true. They have an advantage in the dating world, but have disadvantages in other parts of life.
Yeah, their disadvantage in other parts of life is called feminism. Nevertheless, he sees women as sacred, flawed, imperfect humans, just like I am. Okay. I think Caleb's still tripping. Not everyone who's left the red pill then did so because of some feminist Oh, here's the payload. Feminist revelation. Okay, so despite the fact that feminism is responsible for the other half of this, you mentioned it, Tumblr feminism is the radical counter opposition to the red pill. But we're still within the feminist envelope. That no awareness here. Trevor, the man who ended up in a police cell after a confrontation with his ex. Oh, Jesus. I remember reading this paragraph and thinking, wow, this seems really weird. Like, are they going to explain? Because if you read this sentence out of context, you'd think that maybe he did something to end up in the police cell. This is actually really dishonest, this sentence. The man who ended up in a police cell after a confrontation with his ex?
Yeah, okay.
How about the man who ended up in a police cell after being abused by his ex?
Yeah, that would be more, yeah.
Still holds many of the subreddit's beliefs, like society downplays women's abuse towards men, just like it did Amelia
He subscribes to his lived experience that happens to coincide with the beliefs of the subreddit.
No, he should have abandoned his lived experience to coincide with Amelia's rhetoric and narrative. That would have been far less culty. I think the cult that Amelia is referring to is real life.
Oh, let's see.
It's like being able to acknowledge reality. That's the cult. Look, a lot of what they say is true, unfortunately, he says. So it's really a question of I don't believe any of that. And it really isn't a question of I don't believe that anymore. It's just that I don't believe it's useful to continuously expose myself to that sort of stuff. Although Trevor says the red pill helped him to bed an unusually high number of women, he now desires deeper relationships and hopes one day to start a family. What a surprise. Trevor has only been out of the subreddit for a few months, and it isn't apparent whether or not his views will slowly change. Because God knows, Amelia, what's important is that Trevor stop realizing that women have the ability to jail him, as he experienced in his own life. Is that Trevor will become a feminist and realize that didn't happen. That situation that happened to him didn't actually happen. As it stands, however, he believes that our culture is breeding itself out of existence and that the red pill and feminism are equally toxic and contributing to this, and women who sleep around are indirectly contributing to the depopulation of the white race.
Okay,
Well,
but, okay, he says feminism and the red pill are both contributing to this, right? Which means he's a small picture thinker, right? Because feminism is the one that started this whole fucking ball rolling, right? The red pill is a fairly recent freaking response to living in a feminist culture. And, you know, honestly, it's a multi-pronged attack. You got MRAs trying for legal reform. You got red pillars who are undermining the sort of female sexual cartel in terms of being able to get laid and be successful with women, take advantage of the system. You got MGTOW abandoning the system, saying we're going to fucking take our ball and go home and not play anymore, and we're not even going to really pay much tax because why would we bother propping up this fucking fucked up system, right? Actually, we have all of these approaches all weaken the hold of feminism. They all begin to make it apparent that there's an underlying problem, right? Once people start talking about MGTOW and pickup artistry and MRAs, right? It's applying pressure on the system to get the system to change.
Here, listen to this. I'm roommates with some Muslim people here, some Algerians, 2 guys and a girl. 2 girls and a guy, and these people take themselves more seriously, he says. They kind of understand the importance of the tribe and community and family. So it's not actually racist what he was saying. And he's correctly identifying. And interesting that he has the tribe, the more traditional society has an appeal for him. There is one red pill belief, however, that Trevor has completely shunned. One thing I do believe is you can show a little vulnerability to your significant others. A little. Well, hopefully she doesn't buy some male tears in response, but male tears, I drink your male tears mug, but no one still active on the red pill would admit that they're simply lonely, young, or vulnerable. This group is exceptionally still active.
What?
This group is exceptionally hostile to outsiders.
No, nobody who's still active on the red pill would admit they're lonely, young, or vulnerable.
I don't know what that means. Maybe
they do that all the time. That's the whole point of we know you're lonely. That's why you're here. You're young. Great. Right? You're vulnerable. Don't show it. At least don't show it to men if you want to get laid.
The group is exceptionally hostile to outsiders, and the toxic beliefs in the subreddit easily inspire revulsion and hatred on first sight. That's nice, Amelia. Well, of course they do, because it's vulnerability. Oh my God.
It's a bunch of men. It's a bunch of men who say women have an advantage over us at least in this one area, right? Oh, of course that'll inspire hate. How dare you suggest that women have an advantage over men?
Yeah, and they talk about their vulnerabilities. That's
well, you have to admit to being vulnerable if you're willing to say another group has an advantage over you and has the capacity to make or break your life, has the capacity to grant you things you want or withhold them, who has the capacity.
Really
to frickin' put you in prison when they're displeased with you. All those things.
That's a really fucking good point. And I would add to that, yeah, if feminists want men to show their vulnerability to what? Like what?
The patriarchy.
The vulnerability to the thing that makes them invulnerable. Okay, all right. That makes perfect sense to me. You're not asking for hot ice. You're not asking for ice on fire. But we are perhaps as guilty of considering red pillars a complete entity as they are considering all women to be joined together in some evil mission. In reality, there are many complex stories behind the subreddit, with some ex-users even claiming that they were struggling to come to the terms of the fact they were gay or trans. Every man on the red pill has a different story. However, each of them do have a striking similarities. The main one is anger. Like the name of a red pill subreddit itself, it's a blazing red. We must understand the psychology behind the philosophy, not to condone it. It's not a philosophy, but to better tackle the poisonous spider infecting those across the web.
Poisonous spider?
God.
I sincerely thought you were being sarcastic, reading what they were saying, but it's actually in the article.
Yeah, that was in the article. I was not being a sarcastic.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I know. We should sympathize with them, because otherwise they might become a poisonous spider infecting all of us. Jesus Christ.
What was the most famous poisonous spider called again? The Black Widow?
Yeah. She eats her mate. But only
Okay, I think we're
hungry.
This after show might actually be worth putting up as an actual show, because this might have might contain some stuff that people will need to listen to, or should listen to.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that.
Yeah, but we got to get going, because the classic is in. Brian, when are we doing it? Are we doing it at 8 or 7?
7, as far as I know. Do you want me to move it up?
Could we? Yeah, just because this is late.
So 8 your time, Allison, and 7 my time?
Yeah.
That would be perfect.
All right.
And what should we call this sucker? Let's
Hold
oh,
on.
hey.
Wait a minute. What?
In commemoration of this after show Rantzerker thing that we did, why don't we talk about empathy and whether or not men or women are more empathetic? Oh, Trevor, yeah, you got arrested for being abused. But the real problem is that you might have a bad attitude towards women as a result of that.
So how about 7? How about you want it 8 o'clock or 7:30? I guess 8. The after show was extra long this time, so.
Yeah, it was. This has been a long Rantzerker, so let's give us. I'm gonna go home and get something to eat. Maybe get some heat on my back, because my hips are really hurting.
So we're talking
7 your time.
7 my time, 8 Allison's time, 9 your time.
Well, 8 my time too. Allison and I are on the same.
Oh, all right.
Thing.
For now.
For now.
Fucking Saskatchewaners. Fucking losers. Can't fucking fit in with the rest of the world.
Yeah, it's weird.
Wait until summer, and then she's gonna fuck everything up again.
All right.
Then she's gonna be on my time, not yours.
Oh, I should probably stop the stream here. Hold on. Everyone's hearing.
On that
note. Wait, where is the thing? Where are the controls? Shit. Too many tabs. Oh, there it is. All right, we're